Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Intimacy Lab. I want to ask you something right away, and I want you to answer honestly. Have you ever felt like you're right there, standing so close to a woman, and yet somehow she never really lets you in? She laughs at your jokes, she shares stories from her day, she even leans on you emotionally, but when it comes time to truly commit to define what this is, she pulls back, she hesitates, she tells you she's not ready, or that she needs time, and yet she still keeps you around. You feel it in your bones, don't you? That ache of being wanted but not chosen. It's a confusing place to be. You wonder, is this connection real, or am I being strung along? Is she unsure, or am I simply convenient? And deep down it stings, because as a man, your natural instinct is to pursue with clarity, with purpose, but when that clarity is not returned, your energy begins to drain. That is exactly why we're here today. We're going to talk about what it really means when she keeps you close but won't commit. We're going to explore what's happening emotionally for her and for you. And most importantly, I'm going to guide you gently but firmly into what you should do next, not from a place of anger, not from a place of ego, but from a place of deep self-respect, emotional clarity, and strength. I want to ask you again, have you ever noticed that strange in-between space where you feel emotionally tethered to a woman? You feel like you matter to her in some ways, and yet when you look closer, you see she's holding you at arm's length. She confides in you late at night. She lights up when you text. She likes that you care, that you listen, that you show up, but when the question of commitment arises, something shifts. Her gaze averts, her words soften into uncertainty, and she says things like, "I'm not ready," or "I just need more time," yet she doesn't let you go either. You feel stuck in this limbo, a connection that almost feels like a relationship, but never quite becomes one. You're there emotionally available, hoping, trying, and she's there too, but not really meeting you on that deeper, committed level. And slowly you begin to feel the erosion of your own confidence and clarity. Let's talk about why this happens, because understanding this is the first step toward freeing yourself from that confusing web of mixed signals and subtle delays. A woman might keep you around for many reasons, and not all of them are malicious. Sometimes she enjoys your presence, but doesn't yet know how to surrender to deeper vulnerability. Sometimes you feel an emotional need she has in the present moment, while her heart is elsewhere, tethered to a past lover, or trapped in her own indecision. But here's what I want you to remember right now. When a woman keeps you around but won't commit, she is making a silent agreement not just with you, but with herself. She is saying, "I value your companionship, but I am not ready, willing, or able to fully choose you." And that agreement may have very little to do with your worth as a man. In that moment, it is not your job to convince her otherwise. In fact, your first responsibility is to stop chasing clarity from someone who benefits from your confusion. Your emotional clarity must come from you. So what do you do when you sense this dynamic? The first, most essential thing, stop overinvesting emotionally in uncertainty. Often, when a woman gives you half attention, half love, half time, you may respond by doubling down. You start giving even more kindness, more patience, more reassurance. You try harder, hoping your consistency will soften her resistance or make her ready. But this is exactly the trap. Because when you overinvest in someone who isn't reciprocating with the same clarity, you begin a dangerous pattern. You tell yourself that your value comes from effort, not from mutuality. I want you to take a pause right now, even before this video continues, and feel this truth. Your emotional energy is precious. Your patience is a gift. Your availability is a treasure. These are not things to be scattered lightly. When a woman does not meet you halfway, when she does not show up with equal intention, your responsibility is not to give more. It is to give less, thoughtfully, and with clear boundaries. Boundaries are not about punishment, they are not ultimatums. Boundaries are about honoring the emotional contract you have with yourself. If you notice, she keeps you around but gives vague answers when you try to define the relationship. That is the moment when you stop asking and start observing. Watch not her words, but her actions. Does she make space for you in her life? Does she invest in truly knowing you, respecting your needs, and sharing her emotional world? Or does she enjoy the benefits of your presence while keeping you emotionally on the sidelines? And when you see that pattern clearly, the next step becomes simpler. Disengage gently but firmly. This doesn't mean you become cold or harsh. It simply means you stop feeding energy into a dynamic that feeds on your uncertainty. When you choose to pull back your attention from ambiguity, something beautiful happens. You begin to see more clearly what you actually need and desire as a man. Not what you hope she might give you, but what you require to feel fulfilled, honored, respected. Let me give you an example. Imagine you are dating a woman who texts you sweetly late at night, but never makes time for a real date. She tells you she cares about you so much, but her actions consistently say otherwise. She cancels plans, she's evasive when you suggest spending weekends together, and she insists she's not ready for anything serious but also doesn't want to lose you. This dynamic can feel intoxicating because it gives you just enough emotional intimacy to feel attached, but never enough security to feel settled. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. It keeps you coming back, but it never actually quenches your thirst. In this situation, the key is not to demand that she change her mind, but rather to recognize what her behavior is telling you without needing more explanations. Her indecision is a decision. Her hesitation is an answer. And when you can see this clearly, it's no longer about blaming her or resenting her for her confusion. It's about reclaiming your own clarity and dignity. You can still appreciate what you shared. You can still wish her well, but you don't need to stay in a place where you are only partially valued. Now, as we continue this conversation, we'll explore what it means to rebuild your own confidence when you've been in this kind of limbo, how to reconnect with your deeper masculine power and ensure that you're not available for ambiguity, but only for mutuality. And so, as you begin to reclaim your clarity and gently withdraw your emotional energy from this uncertain dynamic, you might notice something surprising, a quiet discomfort rising inside you. A tug, almost like withdrawal. It's the discomfort of breaking a pattern that has kept you anchored, even if that anchor was weighing you down. This is where I want you to pause again and listen deeply to yourself. Why does it feel so difficult to simply step back when someone is not meeting you where you stand? Why does your mind keep spinning, wondering if you should just wait a little longer? Give her one more chance. Hold space just in case she finally realizes your worth. The truth is, many men find it difficult to detach because this situation plays into something even deeper, the desire to feel needed. And when she turns to you for comfort or companionship but won't commit, it can feel strangely validating. You are the one she trusts, the one who understands her, even if you are not the one she chooses fully. This role can become seductive, but it is also exhausting. At its core, this dynamic keeps you performing for her approval rather than anchoring into your own self-worth. You begin measuring your value by how much she opens up to you, or by how often she comes back after disappearing. Your emotional rhythm becomes tied to her availability, her moods, her seasons, her whims. This is why the next step is not just about pulling away from her, it's about coming home to yourself. It's about anchoring in your own life, your own values, your own needs. When a woman won't commit but keeps you around, she leaves you living reactively, waiting for her cues, her messages, her decisions. And slowly, you stop living proactively for yourself. I want you to think about this. When was the last time you truly lived for your own joy and purpose, not colored by her ambiguity? When did you last wake up with a plan for your own growth, your own pleasure, your own fulfillment that did not include adjusting yourself around her mixed signals? When you stop overinvesting in her indecision, you free up incredible energy that can return to your friendships, your passions, your goals. You stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you become a man who is centered in his own life, who is no longer waiting for a woman to grant him value through commitment, you actually become more attractive. Your self-possession radiates confidence. Your independence draws others toward you. But this isn't about playing a game or using detachment as a tactic to win her back. That would simply keep you locked in the same loop of chasing her attention. No, this is about authentic, embodied clarity. It's about stepping fully into your life as a man who understands that being wanted is not the same as being valued. Now, let's talk about something else that often happens when you begin to pull back your emotional investment. Sometimes this is when she will suddenly show more interest. She might sense your withdrawal and lean back in, offering more affection, more words of care, more gestures of connection. This can feel like hope, like maybe she has finally realized what you mean to her. But here is where your discernment must grow stronger. Ask yourself, is she offering real commitment now, or simply responding to your distance with temporary intensity? Is she now showing up as an equal partner, willing to define and build a relationship with you? Or is she soothing her own loneliness, her own fear of losing your emotional support, without actually being ready to give you what you desire? This distinction matters deeply because without it, you can fall right back into the cycle of ambiguity. Her renewed attention may feel intoxicating in the moment, but if it lacks true substance, you will soon find yourself exactly where you started, waiting, hoping, and feeling unchosen. Your task in this moment is to hold steady, to remain anchored in your clarity, to continue observing, not reacting. Remember that love is not just about chemistry or longing or intensity. It's about reciprocity. It's about mutual commitment, mutual vulnerability, mutual investment. A woman who truly wants to commit will not just respond emotionally to your distance. She will step forward with clarity and purpose, meeting you as an equal. She will not only express that she wants you, but will demonstrate it consistently, with actions that match her words. And so, the question for you is this: can you hold your own ground even when she turns up the affection? Can you resist the seduction of temporary attention and stand firm in your deeper desire for a true, secure connection? This is the emotional maturity you are cultivating now, the capacity to tell the difference between attention and commitment, between desire and devotion. And from here, as you continue walking this path of self-possession, we will explore something even more profound: how to rebuild your own self-trust when you've spent too long doubting your instincts in this kind of relationship limbo. Because beyond the woman who keeps you around but won't commit is the man who can stand in his own clarity, even when it hurts. You see, once you have begun to step back and observe this dynamic for what it really is, something quieter but no less important starts to happen inside you. Doubt creeps in, not about her anymore, but about yourself. The voice that wonders, why didn't I see this sooner? Why did I stay so long? What did this say about me that I accepted so little for so long? And this is where the real work begins, rebuilding trust with yourself. When a man stays in a situation where he feels strung along, he doesn't just lose time or energy. He can begin to lose faith in his own instincts. Every time he felt uncomfortable but stayed silent, every time he doubted her sincerity but didn't ask the hard questions, every time he accepted less than clarity because he was afraid to walk away, he eroded a little bit of his own self-trust. This is why simply walking away is not enough. You must come home to yourself again, to that quiet place within where your gut speaks clearly, where your values are known to you, where your boundaries feel like protection rather than punishment. And this is often the part many men skip because it requires more than strategy. It requires emotional courage. It requires sitting with the pain of disappointment, not just in her, but in yourself, and then offering yourself grace. This grace sounds like this: "It's okay that I stayed longer than I should have. I was hoping for something beautiful. I wanted connection. I believed in possibility. That was not weakness, that was my heart at work." When you can speak to yourself like this, you begin to heal the rupture within. Because holding on to regret or blame will not restore your clarity. Only compassion for your own humanity will. Now I want you to reflect for a moment on how easy it is to confuse self-doubt with self-reflection. Healthy self-reflection asks, "What did I miss? What can I learn from this?" But self-doubt whispers, "There must be something wrong with me. I'm not enough. I will never find love that feels secure." That is where you must interrupt the story. Because none of what happened means you are unworthy of love. None of her indecision means you are unworthy of commitment. All it means is that you entered into a dynamic that was not mutual, and your work now is to choose mutuality as your new standard. This standard becomes your compass going forward. It helps you recognize when someone's words and actions align and when they don't. It keeps you anchored when new people enter your life, when new invitations for intimacy arise. It prevents you from slipping back into the old habit of hoping someone will eventually meet you at the depth where you already stand. And as you practice this, you will notice something else shifting. Your pace will slow down, but your standards will rise. You will no longer rush into situations simply because someone desires your attention. You will take your time observing how they show up, how they speak about connection, how they prioritize intimacy and reciprocity. You will feel more rooted in your masculine energy, not the performance of masculinity, not bravado or bravado disguised as detachment, but the quiet, grounded, noble kind of masculinity that says, "I am available for love, but I will not entertain confusion. I am open to intimacy, but only in an environment of mutuality and respect." And when you meet someone new, which you will, because clarity has a way of attracting clarity, you will not mistake excitement for alignment. You will watch carefully for consistency. You will honor your own emotional well-being above your fear of missing out or being alone. It's a beautiful shift, and it is not theoretical. It is lived and practiced every day, in small, quiet ways. In the way you respond when a woman's attention feels erratic, in the way you speak your truth calmly when something feels unclear, in the way you trust your gut, not with paranoia or cynicism, but with wisdom and maturity. This is how you reclaim your self-trust. By practicing it moment by moment, breath by breath, by standing firmly in the knowledge that you deserve a relationship where love feels secure, where commitment is offered freely, and where you are not just tolerated, but chosen fully, openly, enthusiastically. And so as we continue this journey together, we will go even deeper into how you maintain this emotional clarity, not just as a one-time decision, but as a lifestyle. How you become the kind of man who embodies strength, softness, and discernment, and who attracts a relationship that feels peaceful because it is real. Once you've reclaimed your self-trust, you'll find that life begins to offer you opportunities to test that trust almost immediately. A message from her might arrive out of nowhere, a soft hello, a late night memory, a playful emoji, and suddenly the familiar tension returns. That part of you that once felt tethered to her inconsistency may stir again, wondering, should I respond? Should I leave the door open? Should I give her another chance? This is why your clarity must now become a daily practice, not just an isolated moment of decision. And this practice begins with remembering that attention is not affection, and affection is not commitment. Just because she reaches out does not mean she is ready. Just because she misses you does not mean she can love you in the way you truly deserve. This is where you have an opportunity to stand in a different energy than before, not cold, not resentful, but anchored. When she reaches out, you can smile gently and recognize that her contact is not your cue to re-enter ambiguity. It is simply a moment, a ping, a curiosity. It does not need to define you or redirect your path. And this is the subtle but powerful shift I want you to feel deeply. Your emotional reality no longer revolves around her signals. You are no longer waiting for her texts, her warmth, her moments of longing. You are no longer adjusting your emotional rhythm to her uncertainty. Instead, you are holding steady in your own timing, the timing of a man who knows that reciprocity is the only environment in which love can thrive. This is not just about her, it's about every future connection you will ever have. You are retraining yourself to be the man who can hold space for intimacy without sacrificing your clarity. The man who can feel attraction and chemistry and even care, but who watches carefully. Is this connection reciprocal? Is she standing with me in this commitment? Is she meeting me at the depth where I naturally live? Because if she isn't, and this applies to any woman, then you don't bend. You don't push, you don't chase, you breathe, you feel, and you honor the truth. If this is not mutual, it is not sustainable. This posture, this quiet, self-possessed discernment, becomes incredibly attractive not only to others but to yourself. You begin to enjoy the man you are becoming. You trust yourself to stay steady. You no longer live in fear that love must be earned by waiting endlessly or tolerating ambiguity. And here is where something really beautiful begins to happen. Your peace increases, because when you stop tolerating ambiguous dynamics, you stop living in emotional turbulence. You don't wake up wondering where you stand. You don't anxiously interpret mixed signals. You are no longer drained by waiting for clarity that someone else refuses to give. And that peace, that gentle, steady self-trust, becomes the foundation for deeper, healthier connections in every part of your life. Your friends will feel it, your colleagues will feel it, and the women you meet going forward will feel it too. Now, I know that this peace doesn't mean you won't feel longing or sadness at times. Of course you will. You're human. The history you shared with this woman may resurface in quiet memories. The pull toward her may still arise on some nights. But you will meet that feeling from a different place now, not from neediness, but from understanding. You will say to yourself, yes, I cared for her, yes, I hoped, yes, I waited, but now I honor myself too much to live on hope alone. I require something real, I require mutuality, and you will see that this isn't about closing your heart, it's about refining it. You are not shutting down emotionally. You are protecting your energy. You are reserving your depth for someone who meets you in that same depth. There is incredible strength in this posture, a strength that isn't loud or forceful, but quiet, elegant, and sure. It is the strength of a man who knows that his value isn't defined by whether a particular woman commits to him, but by how steadfastly he commits to his own clarity, dignity, and peace. So as you continue practicing this way of being, you may notice that you begin to attract very different experiences. Women who value consistency and emotional maturity will feel drawn to you. Situations that once drained you will no longer appeal to you. Your entire emotional ecosystem will start to change. This is why we are not just talking about what to do when she won't commit. We are talking about who you are becoming through this experience, a man who refuses to live on emotional breadcrumbs, who requires nourishment, mutuality, and reciprocity. And the final piece of this transformation is learning to fully enjoy this clarity, to not simply endure it as discipline, but to savor it as freedom. There's something incredibly liberating about standing in this place where your clarity is intact, and your peace is no longer negotiable. You begin to notice the subtle differences in how you feel, lighter, calmer, grounded. The anxiety that used to gnaw at you when waiting for her next message, the sleepless nights wondering where you stood, they dissolve. Because you have stopped making her indecision your burden to carry. This freedom doesn't mean you are cold or detached. Quite the opposite. It means you are now able to offer yourself, your full, vibrant, loving self, only in spaces where that love can be received fully. You no longer waste your tenderness in half-built connections. You preserve your energy for mutuality, for a relationship where there is no guessing, no ambiguity, no emotional withholding. And I want you to really feel what this means for your future. From this new posture, your entire approach to intimacy shifts. You start to embody the kind of man who doesn't chase, but invites, who doesn't wait endlessly, but chooses wisely, who doesn't measure his worth by whether a woman picks him, but by how closely he lives in alignment with his own dignity and emotional truth. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you become this man, you won't just attract different women, you'll attract different experiences altogether. Your friendships will deepen, your career will feel clearer, your confidence will grow, not as an armor you wear, but as a natural extension of your self-respect. You'll stop tolerating confusion, not out of arrogance, but out of love, for yourself, and for the kind of relationship you desire. A relationship where you are chosen wholeheartedly, where commitment feels easy because it is mutual, where intimacy isn't something you have to fight for but something that unfolds naturally between two people who want the same thing, and this clarity becomes your new foundation. You no longer see ambiguous relationships as something to fix or manage. You see them for what they are, invitations to pause, reflect, and move forward with wisdom. So if she keeps you around but won't commit, you now know exactly what to do. You stop over-investing in uncertainty. You pull back gently but firmly, not from a place of bitterness but from self-possession. You return to yourself, rebuild yourself, trust, and live with standards that honor your emotional well-being. You hold steady even when she reaches out again, recognizing that attention is not the same as commitment. You stay true to your pace, your peace, your priorities, and you open your heart again, but only to those who meet you at the same depth where you naturally live. This is the quiet power of the man who knows his worth. He doesn't beg for clarity, he becomes it. He doesn't wait for someone else to define the relationship. He defines what kind of relationship he's available for, and holds to it with grace and strength. So as we come to the close of this conversation, I want to leave you with this. You are not here to prove your value by staying in spaces that drain you. You are here to honor your value by reserving yourself for spaces where you are cherished. And trust me when I say this, when you embody this clarity, when you live from this self-trust, you will discover that peace is more attractive than longing, that consistency is sexier than ambiguity, that being chosen fully is worth far more than being kept around indefinitely. So thank you for spending this time with me today. I know these conversations can stir up emotions, some tender, some difficult, but they are also necessary, beautiful, and powerful. You are reclaiming yourself, step by step, moment by moment. If this resonated with you, I invite you to share your experience in the comments. Tell me about the patterns you're breaking, the clarity you're claiming, and the peace you are cultivating. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Intimacy Lab, and share this with any man you know who might be caught in this same dynamic, because we all deserve relationships that feel clear, mutual, and real. Here's to you, to your clarity, your freedom, and the kind of love that meets you exactly where you stand.